All right, I'm on.
They're on and people have started.
Okay, great. All right, hey everybody. We got 31 people here. More people signed up, and I see people coming in as we go. So I'm gonna wait for another couple minutes, and then I want to get started. So I'll give another like 2 minutes. Okay, we got a lot of people. So what I'm gonna do is we are doing our meetup. So the whole team, we're normally a fully remote team. And today the whole team is in one spot. We got like a little Airbnb and we're doing a hackathon. It's super fun. We're improving our support for funders. So we got this grant from the Fund to Welcome Foundation to do this. And so we're like having a big hackathon, which is so much fun because as many of y'all know, we got started at a hackathon. So hackathon vibes, very fun vibes. So I'm just gonna take you to the team real quick because since we're launching Walden, the brand new rewrite, we're really excited. And I just thought it'd be a good time to kind of introduce you to everybody. So here's where we're all at. This is our little table. And Kyle, I think you know.
Hey everyone, Kyle here. I think I get to see you all often, but good to see you again.
All right, we're gonna keep going around. And then this is Casey Meyer.
Hey guys, Casey here.
He's our CTO and he's writing a lot of the code on the back end. And then I'm gonna come around one more. There we go.
I'm Artem, the new data guy. Pleasure to be here.
As you can see, he's doing cool data stuff, which is awesome. So yeah, data bricks. That's our big thing right now for the new rewrite. All right, so I'm gonna let them get back to work. And I'm gonna put some little ear things in. And I'm gonna give you, thank you guys, have fun. And I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of a tour of some of the stuff that we're working on. I want to mostly save a lot of time for questions because I think we actually said a lot of what we did, like in the blog posts and stuff like that. But I think it's a good chance to just kind of hear back from you guys. And like answer some questions. So there's like a chat in Zoom and there's also a question and answer. I guess put your questions and questions in one of those and I'll do my best to try and like get to them like after I'm done talking. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys a little bit about what we're up to. Okay. So hopefully folks can see this thing that says Zoom. So the first thing I want to show y'all is the actual OpenAlex app. So this is hopefully old news for a lot of folks. And I'm just going to go search for nothing. And then I see all of our work. So this is kind of, like I said, something that you've probably seen before. We got a bunch of works over here. We got a bunch of groups over here. And we got our total results. That's, we're looking for works. We got 271 works. So this is the new hotness though. So you click on this little test tube and it says use Walden data. So this is the new version and it adds a bunch of works and it's in beta through October 2025. And that's this month. So I'm going to click use. Holy cow, look at that. We got 445 works, all this 445 million works all of a sudden. So this is the old and busted, as they say in what is that? Men in Black. We got 271 million results and then 445. That's the new hotness. So super exciting. And you can see this, a lot of that is concentrated in recent years. There's some metadata issues. Some of these actually should be back, but that's beta for you. So let's take a look. What's changing? Like, where are all of these like jillions of new works coming from? Like almost 500 million works. We're almost there, right? So we can actually start to filter we can look at just what it does to the over data set, right? So let me go back and forth again. So you saw before we had 23% open access. We add this. Oops. goes to 42%. So most of the work for adding open access, you see the top exchange, stuff like that. But what's a little bit more useful as a way of doing this is we can go to this new filter. So new in data version 2. We call that expansion pack. That's what I call it anyway. xpac. So we're going to go here, and this is just the new works. So these are the ones we added. So it's 177 million, as you can see. They're way disproportionately in recent years. That's a lot of that's because, a lot of them are actually in recent years, but there's also, we have an issue with data site, their metadata schema. We kind of did something wrong where even if the works are old, but they were added recently, we put it in added recently. So this will flatten out a little bit, but it's still gonna be heavily skewed toward recent stuff because such a large percentage is coming from data site. And actually you can look here on the indexed by Crossref, and you can see that of the new works, not that many are indexed oh no, sorry. It says indexed in Crossref. We got to fix that. It actually means DOI. So these are all ones that are indexed by data site because we incorrectly just said Crossref equals DOI. But so the majority of a lot of the new ones, not majority, yeah, a little bit majority of the ones are in data site. That's where a lot of this stuff is coming from. What else can we look at? We can look at the open access percentage. Most of it's open access. We can look at some of the weird artifacts that you get. So like, let's look at, I think there's some fun ones here. Like if we were to look at institution, you can see that, hang on, maybe that's a bug. I didn't add the institution. Sorry. Let me try that one more time. Institution, there it is. These three are like huge, 23 million, 23 million, 23 million. Why are we getting so many works from one institution? You can kind of learn a little bit more even if you look by author. And these are xpac, right? These are the new works. I think the author is broken right now. Try again. Well, anyways, you can find it's only a few authors that are doing this, and they're all data sets. And so what's happening is there's a few organizations that have these automated data set pipelines that they're like generating enormous amounts of data and it automatically goes into data site, which is great. Yay, open science. But it really challenges some of the assumptions that people have when they use OpenAlex because they're like, oh, roughly a work is probably an article. And that was true about the old data. But in the new data, we have a lot of stuff that is just like just spewing out there. And so if you want to do analyses in OpenAlex, increasingly you're going to have to actually specify, like, hey, I don't want data set, right? So you can do stuff like this and say, I do not want things that are data set, right? And so, or more frequently, probably what you do want is article, right? So you say, I just want to look at things that are in the new data that aren't article. And then I can even look through here. And if I sort by institute, if I map by institution, right, I see that now this is a flatter distribution. That's kind of more what I would expect. It's not dominated by a few institutions that are generating literally millions of data sets. So yeah, that's kind of a tour of the new data, but the old data, what else can I share you? Oh, one other thing that we did that's pretty fun is we now have, it was always works and authors and sources, but now there's funders. So you can actually look through our funders right now. There's not a lot you can do with this. You can see which ones are in the global south. So cool. It's arguable whether that's global south. No one has a good definition of that, but whatever, it's counting for our definitions. Right, and you can look at individual funders and then you can say, okay, let's see, for this one, you can find all this information about the funder, obviously, but the most useful thing is you can go look at their works. And you say, okay, well, who is, I'm not so good at Brazilian, Portuguese either, but this is whatever that's called. And these are the work that they funded, which is pretty good. So we got 78,000. This is mostly coming from Crossref right now, but we're actually working on something now as part of this hackathon. It's we're going to add a whole bunch of funder data, again, funded by Welcome. Yay, Welcome. Thank you for that. So that's mostly like the new works, but what about like the old works? Because we are rewriting everything from scratch, 100% rewrite. So when you rewrite everything, there's a chance that, some of the data is going to change. So you can do that by just doing searches here and just going back and forth between Walden and not Walden. So one way to do that would be, for instance, let's look at is retracted. That's a popular, so retracted. So let's look at classic. We have 51,000 retracted, and now looks at Walden. We have 91,000 retracted, and we can limit this to articles because like, oh, maybe there's a bunch of retracted data sets or something like that. But actually, it doesn't really change. It's pretty much only articles that are getting retracted. And again, we'll go back and forth, and you can see that we're almost doubling. 47, more than 50% increase in the number of retract articles. That's because we solved a bug. That's the nice thing about the rewrite is it gives a chance to fix lots of stuff that was broken before. We were missing a lot of retractions. The fact that they were retracted, we were missing that, and we fixed it in Walden. So now you can kind of go back and forth. Say, hey, look, you guys have got a lot of new retracted articles. I think, let me double check. We could even say it's not new. And you can see that like, actually it's the old stuff, the existing works where mostly the change is happening. Of the new works, almost none of those have been retracted, which makes sense because a lot of those are either brand new works or their data sets, and data set retractions are quite rare. So that's one cool thing. We improved our data sets. You can do like some searches too. So let's maybe try just doing like a title and author, title and abstract rather search. So I'm going to do a term that I know about, so all metrics. And let's see, right? So this is Walden. We've got about 760,000 results. Take that off. And wait, that seems broken. Normally it's more, it's less. I don't know how that works. Let me try a different term. Kyle always uses kelp. As you can see, we got a couple like bugs we still got to work out. So there's kelp in the old system, 12,000. New system 17,000. So most of the time we're getting more data in the new system because we have more works. So the overall scope of the data set overall is increased. I don't know what happened on metrics. It might be a stemming issue because all metrics is a weird word, a made up word. I'm not sure if that's possible. So we get more coverage. I think that one's really cool. Fix the retractions. That one's cool. Oh, here's another fun one. We totally re-implemented our language detection. And we got some great help from the community there. There was a great paper published about OpenAlex language detection, gave us some recommendations of what to do. Say, hey, great, we'll implement the recommendations in the paper. So we totally did a new language detection algorithm. And so if we want to, let's say, look at languages that aren't English, which is generally like, that's generally pretty interesting to folks. So we've got, and let's limit it to articles again, because again, I think that's a habit that's probably good to get into because most times what we're looking for when you want articles. So 73 million non-English articles in Walden and 56 million in the old one. So it's a large increase in, and this is not just looking at new works. In fact, we could exclude the new works. Let's do that. And just look at works that are old. So we'll say it's not in data version 2. And the type is article and language is not English. And now let's do that. So this is Walden. This is a new code base. So this is old works that we have called something other than English. Now let's go back to the old data set. And well, that's again, like, I think we made a mistake on that one somewhere. We'll look into that. But mostly we're able to get, it depends on the language, and I can show you the data on that. Mostly we're able to get better coverage of a lot of non-English languages. So it's a good time for me to switch to the other tool. So there's this thing, which is called OREO. And it stands for OpenAlex Rewrite Overview. Where is it? It's got the name on it somewhere, but it is kind of just a fun name. Let's look at the overview. So here is, and I'll get back to language in a second because I can show you better data than what I just showed you. So here's the all the entities that we have. So works is of course the main one, but as you go down here, it's like all these other ones, and it kind of gets into these like weird ones that we only have a few. We're doing a sample to test the similarity between the old system and the new system. And both these are working right now. So you can just call the API, you get that's the old data. You can call the API and put the data version equals 2 parameter, and that's the new data. And so you can just compare these two. And that's what we're doing. We're just doing this in our actual live API. This is real live data. And it's updated every day. Yeah, it's updated every day. It's actually updated every 10 minutes, but the underlying data only updates every day. So we got 10,000 works, 10,000 sources, 10,000 institutions. We're just going to kind of compare these, and we can look and see, okay, well, how many citations? We actually added some citations. We look at the correlation between how many works or how many citations does a work have in the old system, how many citations does the work have in the new system. And we do rank order citations between those two. As you can see, we're getting like great numbers there. Like mostly it looks the same as it looked before for the most part. Concepts is one of the big changes. Concepts, as you know, is deprecated. And so concepts is always behaving a little bit strangely. So let's look at the individual works a little bit more closely. So the individual entities a little bit more closely. So I was talking about language. So we've got these tests and we've got plots. I'm going to look at the plots first. Let's look at languages actually, because I was promising languages. So here's languages. And now look at plots. We see the number of works per language. And this is the one that I think is pretty cool. Again, this is just live calls in the API. So here's each of these dots is a language. So for Hebrew, we have got a lot more works in Walden than we did in Classic. For English, we also have more works, a little bit because we were just able to classify some stuff we didn't have before. There's a few where we're less. So Somali, Classic was doing a better job than Walden. But most things you can see are over this line. So for the most part, Walden is finding more of whatever the language that we're interested in is. Generally, we've got more of it in Walden, sometimes quite a lot more. This is a log plot. So in this case, we're at like double, right, of double the modern Greek in Walden compared to Classic. But this group is really cool because this is all stuff where Classic just had nothing, which is really cool. So some of these are like kind of dumb, but like some of these are awesome, right? Like these are like real languages that people speak, they're important. And these are all stuff that Walden was able to find that Classic wasn't able to. And I think my earlier non-English was maybe a little bit too coarse because I think it's better to look at the individual languages where, like I said, we actually have like significant more progress. So let's look at tests. That's the other way we're visualizing or like expressing the differences between the two systems. Again, this is not counting new works. This is just saying the same work in both systems. Let's compare them. So how many languages did the work count increase? We're testing languages. So for 89% of the languages, the work count went up. For 16% of the languages, the work count went down. So on the whole, on net, we're generally doing a better job. And again, you can kind of see that in the graph as well, where you see like the general sense is like there's more stuff above the line than there is below the line. So that's the languages, but most people are going to want to be looking at works a lot. So let's go there. Works is the one that has kind of like the biggest changes. What's going on? So again, let's look at this test. We've got happy face tests. We've got frowny face tests. The happy face ones is ones where we think this is a feature, something good happened. So we added a bunch of new works. Yay. We improved the OA status. We improved the FWCI. We found more referenced work. That one's really awesome. We redid our algorithm that finds works references. So we got the work right and we look at the reference section. We try and find each of those references, what other work in OpenAlex is it pointing to. So it's kind of a parsing job, and then it's like a disambiguation job. And we're doing a better job of that. So for 14% of works, we've actually added more references. So that's a feature one. And you can click on this and a little bit more. You say, okay, this is a good feature. It's related to citation, 14% changed. And for each of these, you say, okay, look, we found an extra 3 works in these. So you can zoom in on it. You can look at it in the API. You can look at it in the other API. So you can really like dive pretty deep into this to try and hopefully find bugs. We used it to find a bunch of bugs. And then, yeah, we got some bugs. So this primary source changed. We lost a bunch of, we added some sources and we lost some sources. You can even go here to category and let's look at how we did on, it'd be probably sources. And you can see that for 6% of work, we added a new source, yay. But for 9%, we lost a source. So we're kind of doing worse on sources. That's an, a area of active development for this month. Sources is probably our biggest weakness right now. But for a lot of these other ones, like I said, we added 8% new open access. That's really cool. Again, you can click on those, you can see which ones, and you can evaluate it and say, hey, are they actually doing this like correctly or not? This is a random sample. So you can see PDF URL added. We added a lot of these. We added a ton of licenses. And for most of the bad ones, right, they're below 1%. They're 1% or below, which is just going to happen. We added, I mentioned the retractions. This is only 0%, but it rounds to 0%, but it's actually like, a few tens of thousands. We added a lot of keywords, which is really cool. This, for some reason, the keywords one doesn't show up. And we didn't lose any SGs, we didn't lose, right? So you get a sense of like kind of the arrangement. The plots for work's a little bit more interesting. I was mentioning the citation counts. That's pretty important, I think, for works. Like we really kind of wanted the incoming citations to be very similar. So yeah, you can just kind of see from the it's always tough because there's so many things that are just like zeros. And this is a log plot, so we add one so it doesn't like break the logarithm. But you can see that there's like, there's certainly correlation. The reference work is interesting. This is the outgoing citations. And you can see here that, hey, look, like for the most part, for most works, we found a little bit more outgoing citations than we did before because we're improving our parser, which is pretty neat. So that's kind of a tour of OREO. I gave you a tour of the UI. And now I'm going to, let's throw up for questions. I'm going to start with the Q&A that was in the like Zoom Q&A feature. I'm just going to read these in case folks aren't seeing them. Eric asks, I heard from a colleague that Walden may have broken the OpenAlex or package, returning lots of duplicated results. Will the data version equals 2 go away and become the default? I guess there's a comment and a question there. Can't speak to the OpenAlex or package. That would be a bummer if it were broken. It should still work fine as long as you don't include data version 2, because the API responses are all like unchanged. Like if I go here, let me go to the UI again. So all of this, if you don't put this Walden flag on, all of this is working exactly the same as it always did. So let me just like pick a random, like I'm gonna do this topic. Now I'm gonna show the API query. I'm gonna copy that API query and paste it here. And like everything just works the same as it did before. So it all looks exactly the same. The schema hasn't changed at all. That's really important to us because I know it's hard to have a bunch of stuff changing. And now I just put data version equals 2 here, and it still works, but it's just different numbers. And that's what's happening in this URL too. If you look, like when I turn on Walden, you see that everything looks the same, just there's data version 2 in here. So I can't speak to the breaking. Will data version 2 go away and become the default? Absolutely. And if you check our blog post, this is the important data about the timeline that I would keep track of. It's right down. There we go. So on August 9th, we posted the schedule. And we are still on track for that, which is awesome. It's really hard to stay on track. So this is where we're at right now, right? Data version 2 param for August 1. And then for November 1, the data from the old codes is deprecated. We serve this one by default. So data version 2 becomes a default. You can still get the old data with data version 1. So it's like, now you got to opt into the new stuff. In November, you got to opt into the old stuff. And then December, old stuff is no longer there. It's just gone. There was a question, it'll be possible for community to correct errors in metadata easier way. Yes, it will be possible in the near future. We're working on that right now. We've got a new curation endpoint. One of the things that we added to the UI that will make this easier, I just want to show you this real quick. I've got a good, I'm going to search for my own work. Let's see. Let me start from scratch. So, because I know this one, the state of OA. So this is something I wrote and I know it happens to have a lot of locations. So I'm going to go to this work and you can look in locations. We actually list the locations where we found this work now and which ones are open, which ones are primary, stuff like that. What we're working on is there'll be a little icon next to this that you can use to edit it. So if you think this location is the wrong license, you click here, you edit it. That's what we're working on. That will definitely be live this quarter. So yeah, that is a good question from Andrea. So near future, hopefully this month, that's a little bit of a stretch, but definitely this quarter. What's included in the other? Laura asked, what's included in the other work type that is making such a prominent value for work type in Walden? like planning on creating new types to break the other into more types. Yes, it's data set, it's data site. Just the overall, so the type metadata in Crossref is like, I would say so-so. If you read the bibliometrics lit, the scientific literature, there's lots of people bemoaning how the Crossref type attributes is kind of not really robust enough to do a lot of analyses. Compared to the data site types, the Crossref types are like amazing. So they're just that the type listed in the data site API is just not very valuable. Like it's just wrong a lot. And if they use this grab bag other quite frequently. So what we're doing right now is we're just using what data site gives us. And they do kind of like overuse this other category. We're going to have to build our own type classifier, which is kind of a hard job. But yeah, I expect in the next, within the next 6 months, we'll have that. In the meantime, our theory is, hey, at least we've got it, like the data's there. And in most cases, other is not an article. So for a lot of analytics workflows, you kind of want to exclude other. There's a lot of data sets that are listed as other. So yeah, that's, I guess, the answer for that. Yeah, that other is pretty annoying, but we will fix that. Billy Wong asks, is the new version available as a snapshot download? The answer to that is no. We just launched a snapshot of the old version, which if you have production workflows that are dependent on the old version, is a pretty good idea to grab. We'll do another snapshot of the old version at the end of the month, and we'll do a snapshot of the new version at the end of the month. So we're trying to keep them both there as much as possible. Because this is the beta, release, and as you saw, there's still like some pretty rough edges we got to sand down. We just didn't bother doing a snapshot of it, but we'll do one at the end of the month. An anonymous attendee asks, are there any improvements to author disambiguation accuracy? The answer to that is no, there are no such improvements, unfortunately, because that is an area that, it's really hard to fix. We definitely are very interested in fixing it. And it's certainly something is probably one of our top three priorities for the next quarter through the end of the year. We will definitely unveil a new author name disambiguation algorithm by the end of next month that will be applying to the new works, because that's like 100, right? Like 50 new works that don't have A&D, like they don't have author disambiguation on them. So we're going to roll out a whole new algorithm for them. And then we'll gradually extend that algorithm to go over the whole old works as well. So that's kind of the rollout plan for that. That combined with the ability to curate your own profile, your own author profile, I think we'll have both those done by the end of the year. And I think that will improve the experience for authors, in OpenAlex, which is, I would say right now, like pretty bad. Like it's one of our, like, I think worst, like bugs or worst features, like lack of features right now. Okay, moving on. Tyler Diorio asks, previously, it would take over 3 days for preprints to reach OpenAlex. Is this the same after the current update, or are we closer to real time? That is a good question, Tyler. It is built in such a way that it should take, that we update the entire thing every 24 hours on a 24-hour cycle. So it should take 24 hours or less, but it is not super thoroughly tested. So if you wanted to test that out and report back, I would love to hear what you find. But we should be, as long as it's appearing in the archive or whoever bioarchive, like as long as it's appearing in their OAI PMH endpoint, which is kind of up to them, but typically those appear at the same time as they're published, then we should get it in our thing within 24 hours. And what's cool is then not only does the work, because this whole Databricks infrastructure, like everything kind of updates all at the same time. So not only will we get the work, but if that work is citing things, like let's say you get a preprint in and that preprint has got 10 references, we will apply all 10 of those references to 10 different other work that they're referencing will all have their citation count increment by 1. So will the institutions that are affiliated with those works. So will the FWCI of those works. So everything changes at once, which didn't happen in the old system. So it should be at 24 hours, the whole data set is updated. I would be interested to find out. Hopefully that's true. We'll obviously test it more ourselves, but we're kind of a little behind on that. An anonymous attendee asks, sorry if I missed it. 1, the author analysis function, when will it be fixed? Is there an estimated time frame? Right, I was showing you that the author I think we were looking in the UI and I was indicating that the author facet does not seem to be working. So I think that it's working in production, but I don't know. Let me check. We're gonna check this live. We're doing it live. Author. So yeah, it's working in production, but there was something just in my demo that was causing it to not work. I'm guessing it's like live demo curse, because when I do Walden there, it's still working. I think, oh, I know what it was. When I just limited it to xpac, I just limited it to new works. I'm glad you mentioned this, because if I just limit it to new works, watch, it's going to go down to nothing. And the reason is because we haven't disambiguated authors in those new works in xpac, in the expansion pack. So there actually are no authors. There's no author IDs in xpac. There's just author strings. So that's why it's not working. So actually the author thing, the author like analysis function is working fine. Even for Walden works, you see it's working fine. It's just that it doesn't work for expansion pack works. And it's not going to until we implement author disambiguation, which we're not going to do until basically sometime in November. Yeah. And then number two, is there a way to use the previous old version of author analysis? Yes, there is, as just indicated. Sean Murphy asks, I'm a librarian working with faculty on a project that uses OpenAlex to construct citation matrix citations. Right. This is kind of a long question. I'm going to read it and then I'll summarize it for you. Sean is asking about data issues around DOIs and OpenAlex IDs and potential duplicates. I would say Walden is doing I know that Walden is doing a better job with those duplicates, and Walden makes it easier for us to fix. The biggest thing with Walden, we're just trying to make it easier to fix stuff quickly. So my advice would be for these specific instances, if maybe you could let us know, make a support ticket and we can look into it. If your library is supporting us as a premium member, then we'll get to that ticket like pretty quick. If they're not, then it'll get in line behind everybody else. And we'll do our best. Billy Wong asks, in ROR, an institution can have multiple types. I think currently in OA, each institution has one type. Will OpenAlex change to follow ROR? There's type and there's role. Yeah, we do just pick one type right now because I think our approach is a little better using roles. So that's kind of more what we do. So let me give an example of an institution. Let's look for one that I know pretty well. Instead of institution, let's look for funders. So this is one I was just looking at the other day. So that's why I'm going to use this one. So National Institutes of Health. So, oops, I didn't want to look at the API. Sorry, I wanted to look for the permalink. So this is a funder, but it's got multiple roles other than just funder. And for some reason that's not showing up right now. Hang on a sec. Why did I get that wrong? Let me look in institutions. I'm sorry. Man, live demos are tricky, huh? National Institute. Well, the American one is not coming up. Institutes. All right. National Institutes of Health. Okay, here we go. So let me look at this one. I think this will work. Okay, well, somewhere there's supposed to be a role drop down. Darn it. I can't show you this. Well, in the API, you can see that we have this thing called roles. What? Where'd it go? All right, I'm gonna have to get back on this. We have this thing called role that for some reason is not showing up in the API right now, and I'm flustered. But the idea is that it can be it can be an institution, it can be a funder, and it can be a publisher all at the same time. And somewhere that's in the API, but like I said, because I'm flustered, I think I'm looking for the wrong thing. But yeah, so we have multiple roles, but we don't have multiple. It's not in data version 2. That's my problem. That was the issue. Let me look now. Whoa. There it is. Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, this is missing in Walden, as you can see. So it's an institution, it's a publisher, and it's a funder, and it has a different number of works. So as an institution, it's like there's a certain number of works that were done by researchers who are affiliated with NIH. NIH actually publishes some works, although you can see it's only 38,000, and NIH funds a whole bunch of works. But it's the same institution, but they're doing these different things that have different relationships to work. So that's the answer for the Roar one. We might do the multiple types. We certainly have that data, but we want to push people more towards rules. Okay, I'm guessing it's pronounced Marianne. My apologies if I'm pronouncing it wrong. White is any plans to update DOAJ data? I've noticed ABC data is out of date. It should be very up to date in Walden because we check it like every day or something. I think every day. So if you have examples where our APC data is out of alignment with DOAJ, then I would love if, yeah, just drop us a line. We can try and get that fixed. But it should be in Walden like within a day of the same data. Okay, Sean Murphy again says, has your team given any thought to adding metadata to works indicating whether Gen AI was used to write them? A lot of people have used our data to do that kind of analysis. In fact, there was a Paul Graham, who is like kind of a big startup guy, recently did a while back did a tweet where he was looking for this. So if you look for, I'm looking for institution, sorry. Let me look for works. If you look for works and then you search title and abstract for the word Dell, then you will see like a crazy discontinuity there. And the assumption that many have made is that Gen AI systems overuse this word Delph. And so if you see this massive spike here, right, that's not represented in the total works, then you start to get a sense of like, hey, maybe these guys were done with data. So a lot of people use our data for that, but actually us detecting is out of scope for us right now. We want to be the data source that other people can use to create those analysis. And there's a bunch of people who are doing research integrity checks, of which I would consider this a special case, that are like tons of research integrity services are built on OpenAlex data, which I'm really like happy about and proud of. Trongley asks, again, my apologies if I got the pronunciation wrong. Do you recommend us trying out data version 2 and report any issues? Indeed, I do. Indeed, I do. I would just take a look at this OREO site before you report something, because we do have a number of known issues. You know, and if you see something like, hey, the sources are wrong, like, let me look again at OREO. Here's OREO. Here's, let me go back to works. And you can look at these tests and you can see, okay, well, hey, my primary source changed. Hey, my primary source was lost. Yeah, agreed. Like I bet you're going to find a lot of that. So I wouldn't bother reporting it just because we already know about it. But if there's other stuff that's like novel that you think it can be used for us, yeah, I would love that. Those reports would be helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, definitely try it out because it's awesome. Emily Gore asks, will the author disambiguation functionality integrate with ORCID? I mean, it already does. I would say, unfortunately, the ORCID data, particularly in Crossref, has got a lot of errors. And so like there's a lot of folks who will, you know, they'll create an ORCID, they'll assign that ORCID to their name in when they submit a paper. And they'll say, great, this paper is associated with ORCID 123. And then they'll submit another paper, you know, 2 months later. And they'll make a new ORCID. And they'll say, great, this ORCID is associated with author 567. Same person, but they just made 2 ORCIDs or 3 or 4. They've got a whole wallet full of ORCIDs, right? And they just don't care. They're not trying to keep them straight. They just make the ORCID because they have to submit their paper. In those cases, you know, ORCID is telling us loud and clear, these are different authors. These are not the same person. They have different ORCIDs. So we're like, okay, well, listen, you know, we'll split them. And so we end up with a lot of splits like that. Sometimes ORCIDs have got people, sometimes it goes the other direction. People merge somehow authors that shouldn't be merged. So yes, we will integrate. We do integrate ORCID. We will continue to integrate ORCID probably ever more tightly. But we don't really, the whole thing isn't based on ORCID, because not only does ORCID have those coverage issues that we all know about, like, right, the vast majority of papers just have no ORCID data associated with them at all. But even we do have ORCID, there's a bunch of errors. So ORCID is unfortunately, like, you know, we work close with them. We're an ORCID member. Hats off to them, big supporters of ORCID, but it's definitely not at this stage, it's not a sufficient, you know, sufficient solution. So yeah, we'll keep doing our stuff. Okay, that takes me to the end of the Q&A. I'm gonna take a look at this other thing called chat, which for reasons known only to Zoom is a separate functionality of Zoom. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that I can find it better. Just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I don't see anything else in chat. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, I see a few. So let me just kind of scroll through those. I'm taking it from the top. So Hansen Zhang, again, my apologies for pronunciation, says, how complete is data in the most recent years, 2022 to 2025? I would say very complete. I would say it's excellent. It's probably more complete than in any other years. Facebook Meta lost a ton of pubs after 2022. I guess so. I can't speak to their system, but yeah, I would say ours is quite complete. We did lose some Chinese publications because they closed their like national DOI registry, kind of their equivalent Crossref, stopped being open data. So I should mention that, yeah, some of our coverage of Chinese papers has gone down actually since like 2021, 2022, something like that. But other than that, I would say it's probably our most complete. Maria Moramora asked 2 questions. Are the snapshot file based on old version, new version? I think I answered that already. It's on the old version, but we'll release the new version in the month. Another question, when are you planning to release new funders and grants, and where will the data come from? Well, we will release new funders and grants within the next few months. And increasingly thereafter, we have a 3-year grant from the Welcome Fund, Welcome Trust to do that. And yeah, we'll keep doing that. And I think we're going to build the most comprehensive funder database in the world, which I'm really excited about. Like I said, it's a 3-year project, so it's going to be, increasing over the 3 years. But you will see the first tranche of, we're working on it today, and we'll see the first tranche of additional funder to work linkages coming out, like hopefully in a few weeks. And then, yeah, adding new funders and adding new awards will be an area of very active work for us all the time. So, but you should start to see all those things this quarter. Trongley asks, actually, it's kind of conversation about OpenAlex R. Awesome. Benjamin Travis asks, for the funders tab, can you add a time filter to see what funding has been applied over the last 3 to 5 years? Is it only by country? If you wanted to do the time filter, the way you would do it is with awards. So you would say, hey, show me all the awards that have been awarded in the last 2 to 3 years, and then you could group them by funder. We just created this awards object. It's a new entity type, which is cool because we don't often release new entity types. It is partly supported in Walden, and it will be increasingly supported. So you can't answer the question that you want with the UI right now. Travis, I think you can sort of answer with the API if you go to, the API/awards and then use a date filter. But I think it's not working super well right now, but it'll be working definitely better by the end of the year. And it'll be in the UI too. Well, you'll be able to see this awards list in the UI. And awards, of course, are like the link between funders and works. It's like the funder creates an award, the award funds the work. Andrea Colivignarelli, again, my apologies for mispronunciations, asks, I'm from the University of Milan and we'd like to explore ways to fund the project. Yay, as becoming a freemium user. Could you give me an email address? Yes, I can do that. Email me at jason@openalex.org. Pretty easy. Jason, that's my name, at openalex.org. Feel free to drop me a line about this or any other topic. Yeah, so Marianne White says, my institution has a type of funder. When we're an academic health center, we do fund, but I don't know if it should be our primary type. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we do have 2 roles, she says. Yeah, that's our idea is we don't really want to assign people a primary type. We just want to say, are you an institution? And an institution for us means like, do you have researchers who are affiliated with you? Then you're an institution. Are you a funder? That means, do you give out money to support research? Then you're a funder. And finally, are you in charge of one or more sources? Where in charge is somewhat loosely defined, but I think we mostly know it when we see it. Then you're a publisher. And we just try and associate those three. If it's the same institution to all three, then that's where we have the roles. But there's not a primary, it's not like a center of the cluster, it's just you do all three. But we can count how many works are associated with you in each role. And so if you want to do it programmatically, you say whichever one has the most works, that's your primary. If you wanted, you could do it that way. Yes, Hansen Zhang observes that there previously are artificial spikes in 1970, 80, 90, etc., called for incorrect or rounded publication years. Good catch. We found a big one around 1800 as well for DataCite. They all seem to be driven by like issues in either DataCite metadata or our parsing of DataCite metadata. So basically either their fault or ours or both. We're working on that. That is, yeah, one of our better known issues. I was mostly focused on the 1800 one, but this is good to learn about the 1970, 80, and 1991s. So appreciate that, and we'll work on that. Great, and I think that takes us to the end of the chat. And I think we only had a half an hour schedule, so anybody's still here, thank you. Oh, I got another one from Billy Wong. Is there any plan to cover patent data? Plan is a big word. It's interesting. I mean, I think if there was a lot of folks who needed it from us and we could do it better than anyone else, then we'd probably try and do it. But I don't think either of those things have been true so far. The interest has been like moderate, and I haven't yet seen a good indication that we would do a way better job than the people who are already out there, which I think is not true for scholar literature. I think we're actually doing like a fantastic job, and we're on course to do an even better one. So yeah, I think, yeah, feel free, as Emily just has, to let us know if you think you would really like to see patents in OpenAlex, and who knows, it could happen. But it's not on the near-term roadmap at all. Not the way funders are. Okay, so like I said, everybody, I think people stayed a little bit late. Appreciate that. We're gonna try and do some more of these because I just really like being able to, like, actually interact with you guys and like hear what you're interested in, and like, hear what questions you have. And we'll announce them on the I guess the listserv and on Twitter. And yeah, thanks everybody showing up. It's a bit of an anticlimactic ending. I'm just gonna say I'm done talking and go away. Everybody have a great day. I'm done talking. Bye.